Money, yeah?
Yes.
No, indeed, it's a very relevant question, and thank you for asking that question, Helena. See, the fact remains that no matter what your growth strategy is or what your business plans are, at the end of the day, you need capital to fund, support, and execute your business plans. Therefore, it is very important for every organization, especially the ones who are aspiring for expansion and business growth, to have a complete clarity on at what stage of their business cycle they need to raise capital, how much they need to raise, who are they going to raise it from, how are they going, and what is the process they are going to follow, and of course, how best they are going to utilize those funds when they get it, and on also how the capital structure would look like. Yeah, so these are some of the very basic questions on which these organizations must have a complete clarity. Now, fundraising, in my personal experience, is a very complicated process in itself. However, there are, I would say, three or four very, very fundamental questions that one needs to know and answer very honestly in order to be successful in raising funds. Number one, I would say, are you ready? Yeah. Now, this readiness is different from whether or not you want to raise the capital. Of course, you are running a business, you are short of money, so you want to raise the capital. But it does not necessarily mean that you are ready, you are prepared for that as well. Right? So, let me explain that with the help of a real life example. So, we have a wonderful client here in Vietnam, and we got engaged by them in the year 2020 for them to help on raising capital. Right? So during the assessment process itself, we discovered that this entity has so much of inherent strength and potential that they had never explored. So perhaps this was not the best time for them to raise capital. Fortunately, they took their advice. Fast forward, this year this company will be raising capital. And in fact, this company is now absolutely ready to go for an IPO. So they will raise the capital through IPO or maybe strategic investor if the macro environment and the market sentiments around IPO is not favorable. But the best part is that now this entity is in a position to demand much higher valuation than what they would have got at that point in time. So therefore, as I said, it's very, very important for organizations trying to raise capital to know some of the questions that I mentioned earlier. The second one, I would say, who to approach, right? So, meaning, who would be the right investor for you, who can add maximum value to your business in the long run, not just the capital. It has to be much more than the money. So therefore, it is very important to kind of look for right kind of investors. So in reality, that process itself requires a lot more thinking and proper planning, right? Third, I would say narrative, meaning how do you tell your story? And believe you me or not, in my personal experience, most of the organizations go absolutely wrong on this front. They have very little idea or no idea how to tell their real story. So they would of course tell whatever they want to tell, but they don't know the right way to communicate, to narrate their something that will come their true potential, their true story to the investor. Right? So that's really important. Because see, at the end of the day, investors, please understand that investors, especially the big ones, right? So they are being approached by so many companies and startups, hundreds of them, almost on a daily basis. So it's not up to them to scratch their head and make sense of what you're doing or what you want to communicate, right? So it's your responsibility to communicate effectively. It's your responsibility to narrate your story and excite the investors. Yeah, so, and finally, you asked a couple of questions. I think I have forgotten the fourth one, but I think you asked me one question on the investors' expectations, right? So, in my personal view, any investor across the globe would have a purpose, right? Or you may call it end goal. It could be different for different investors. For some investors, it could just be making an impact. For another one, it could be a return on investment. For another one, it could be portfolio diversification for risk management. So every different investor would have a different mandate or end goal or purpose, whatever we may like to call it. So you have to make sure that your business goal and the investor's goal are aligned. And the investors believe that you have got everything that is needed for both sides to achieve that goal. So if there is an alignment, you get the funding. But if there is misalignment, then the chances deal will fall apart.
Câu hỏi là cần tiền nhưng mà phải biết mình đã sẵn sàng đón nhận tiền hay chưa, và sẵn sàng để kết hôn với cái người mà muốn cho mình tiền hay chưa, đúng không ạ? Phải đi đường dài với nhau, và quan trọng là phải tự tin và kể cái câu chuyện của mình để hấp dẫn họ, vì họ nhận được rất nhiều hồ sơ hàng ngày.